Hello, everybody.
And welcome to The Office Field Guide. My name's Chris, and I'm reviewing every episode of The Office ever. And today, we're looking at all of Season 5.
Okay, we're trapped. Everyone for himself. Okay, let's go. Let's go.
And today, we're going to talk about the season as a whole. We're going to do some corrections and omissions.
Comprehension skills subpar.
And I'm going to talk about what my plans are for Season 6.
I'll be 6.
All right, Season 1 of The Office was foundational. It set up the universe, it introduced us to the characters and the comedy.
In your face!
Season 2 played with those variables, making Michael more sympathetic.
So you didn't get to be what you wanted to be.
I guess not.
Ramped up the Jim Pam drama.
Ram. It's a ram thing.
And set a wholesome tone for the show. Season 3 kept that tone, played with those variables some more, and learned a formula for delivering truly memorable moments.
We don't need to.
Yes, we do.
What? Oh.
Season 4, while hampered by the writer's strike, sought to drive arcs forward in a bigger and more impactful way.
There's no room here! Always a jokester.
So Season 5, how do we even define what Season 5 of The Office is? Is it more of the same, or is it something else altogether? Well, let's break down the biggest season of The Office so far. Spoilers ahead.
Warning! 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 Warning!
Let's go there.
With the weight loss premiere in September 2008, Season 5 of The Office consisted of 24 half-hour-long episodes and 2-hour-longs, and wrapped with the company picnic finale in May of 2009, which happened to be the 100th episode of The Office, a major milestone for any TV series. So let's look at some of the arcs. Michael gets past Jan and finds his soup snake.
Holly, you and I are soup snakes.
The Sprinkle saga comes to a head with the duel.
You stupid idiot! You're like a Sasquatch. You live in the woods.
Sasquatches are the strongest animal on the planet. So fine, call me a Sasquatch.
But there are still signs of life between Angela and Dwight.
Leave it alone.
You got it.
And that look is subtle. It's a really Jim Pam moment. And speaking of them, they start off this season with their engagement. And then there's nothing until they run into a little bit of stress.
When you're a kid, you assume your parents are soulmates. My kids are gonna be right about that.
And then along comes a baby.
Hey, Dwight. Send in the subs.
And really, the standout of Season 5 is the Michael Scott Paper Company arc.
I would like to invite you all to come along with me on a journey.
While the show struggled in the past with some one-off arcs, the Michael Scott Paper Company is a very divisive arc. On one hand, people love it, and on the other hand, people hate it. I happen to be one of the people that love it. And this season concludes with a dance party and a company picnic. And that's it. The hooks are in for next season, with a couple of will they, won't they's,
No, I just thought we'd wing it.
a baby on the horizon,
Here.
I'm screaming!
Dwight.
Ah!
as well as a wedding.
I want a wedding.
So when I think about this season, I'm a little divided on how to actually summarize it. The writers seem to be divided too.
I hate it. I hate it.
In this season of the Field Guides, I made the claim that the stress relief episode was probably the easiest example to really point to how the show was changing. Arguably, this is very, very far away from where the show began. Now look, I love this show. I love well, I don't really love season 1. I love season 2 and on. I'm very excited to see how they find the equilibrium as we move forward into season 6, season 7, and even beyond that. As far as my experience with season 5 so far, I've had a lot of fun with this one. I started back in December of last year, 2020, and it's been quite the ride. Okay, so with a lot more people watching, thank you.
For it is
Together!
thought it would be fun to spend some time doing corrections and omissions. I'm reviewing every episode, and sometimes I get things wrong, or I didn't explain things well enough, or straight up leave stuff out of the episode, and y'all let me know in the comments that I screwed up. I got this idea way back when someone left an amazing comment on the weight loss video, so let's start there. User Julia K says, "To me, this episode's about shedding the past. The problem is that it takes work to make lasting change. Angela can't shed Dwight, or Andy for that matter. Michael can't cut ties with Jan fully. Ryan can't escape his failure at his dream job. Kelly can't commit to Daryl and get out of her toxic thing with Ryan. Only Pam's making a real change, and they make a point of not including her first weigh-in. Losing weight or making a lasting change can't be done with a superficial reward. It doesn't last, and it isn't healthy for anyone." Extremely well said, Julia. And if you want to sign on to help write those deeper meanings with me, feel free to reach out. Same for anybody. Feel free to join the inner circle.
Which doesn't exist.
I love reading comments like that because I come at these episodes with my perspectives, right? And I love to hear what everybody else is. So moving on. For some reason, even though I've been on camera since season 3, people have realized in season 5, I have a similar look to David Cross. Right, I used to be a little insecure about that, but Cross is pretty cool.
I've already made up my mind.
Well, perhaps this will change your mind. Girls?
This is easily my favorite comment of this season. "Wait, aren't you the guy that stole the chipmunks?" I am not David Cross, guys. Sorry to disappoint. Okay, so here's a correction. So I talked about this extra in the Crime Aid Field Guide. This guy is the same as this guy from Benihana Christmas, who I think I called the worst person ever in that episode.
This couple is awful.
And you might say, "No, Chris, that's a different guy." But it's not. I looked it up, and he's the same actor who's actually in 2 more episodes of The Office. So Robert Schaefer, Bob Vance, of all people, commented on that video and said that Steven was Steve Carell's stand-in, which totally makes sense as to why he'd be reused a few times throughout the series. I still think we can come up with some sort of really complex conspiracy theory here, so feel free to leave that one in the comments.
Do you have powers?
Also in that episode, I said that Justin Spitzer, the real life one, was a nurse. He's not. He was an intern, which made him a doctor.
I'm an intern, which makes me a doctor.
Okay, in the employee transfer episode, I talked about Holly's backstory issue. I think there's a continuity issue here.
When corporate found out that we were dating, they decided they were going to transfer Holly back to her old branch in Nashua, New Hampshire.
So you're from Des Moines? Wow, that sounds so warm.
It's possible that she was born in Des Moines and just moved to Nashua for a job.
In summer.
Totally plausible. I think I could still argue that out, but this is not really worth it. The point of the sentiment isn't really where they were from as much as the writing just forced this to move very rapidly, almost as though they only had Amy Ryan for 6 episodes and they didn't do a very good job of wrapping up that very temporary arc. Maybe something was left on the cutting room floor, I don't really know. Okay, so someone who claims their name is William Buttlicker commented on my customer survey video. He said, "My name's William Buttlicker and it hasn't screwed up my life. My wife and kids think it's funny though." I asked for further comment and he didn't respond, though Ben's response here still makes me chuckle. Okay, so here's a controversial one. In the Frame Toby episode, I talked about how a third of that episode was brand new for me. I don't recall 1 second of this.
Listen, New York. That might fly.
Why? Because I went to New York for 3 months.
That and the black sweater, Manhattan.
I wondered if I slipped into an alternate dimension or there's a weird Mandela effect going on, but I asked the Discord and I was reassured that it was always there. A lot of people speculated that it's because of Peacock's cut might be different from Netflix's, which is true, but I didn't watch this on Peacock. The version I have is the version I watched for all of these reviews, and that's from the DVDs. So those cuts are almost completely identical to the Netflix cut. When I was writing that episode, I did ask some folks about this, and maybe they had seen the same cut as me or whatever. But when I posted this field guide, a lot of commenters said they didn't remember this at all. So to clarify, what happened is that my cut's from the DVDs, and it included a lot of different comment from the Netflix cut that a lot of people were familiar with. It's interesting to see how these different cuts on different platforms kind of tweak and define what our version of reality is or what's canon for the show. It'll be interesting as Peacock continues to do their extended Office episodes, Superfan episodes, whatever they're called.
It's irrelevant.
Okay, also in Frame Toby, one of my biggest regrets isn't getting to play more with Dwight's crime monologue.
What is my perfect crime? I go to Berlin. That's where I stashed the chandelier.
Lastly, for Frame Toby, I made an edit a while ago when I was learning After Effects, way back when, and I meant to include this in that episode. And I just forgot, so here, enjoy it now.
You should have gone for the head.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Okay, so here's one thing. The writer's name is Gene Stupnitsky, not Gene Stupinsky. I'm not sure how those neurons crossed. I said his name wrong a lot through several seasons. Gene Stupinsky. Thankfully, somebody pointed this out before I got to the stress relief episode.
Thank you!
You can kind of tell I couldn't say his name right still. Gene Stupnitsky. And okay, so here's a fun one. A lot of people commented on how I say the word dowels, and a dowel called Hank Grenade. Guys, I'm from the same place Phyllis Smith is from, and we say some words weird. I say eggs, caramel, caramel, and fur instead of for.
I knitted it for you.
So feel free to leave comments about those when you see them, but those neurons are for sure locked, and they're never getting corrected. Okay, so we're gonna go into a string of what I'd like to call Chris makes problematic statements about math.
Little Goodwill Hunting situation.
So first up, 8 out of 10 seems really low. I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5. Right, so 4/5 technically is the same thing as 80%. I get that, but in this case, I'm not wrong. They're not the same thing. I got an A+ in statistics, guys, in my adult education college course at night, but mostly because I know how to use Excel and not because I really understand statistical concepts.
We can make another spreadsheet. Yeah, exactly.
So that's not to brag, but what I'm saying here is I'm not gonna use the right words and I don't care to look them up.
I do the numbers.
But my ratings go from 1 to 5. Also, I probably should say that some people seem to think that this transition bit that I do here means that I hate that episode.
This is the worst.
Guys, that's just the transition into the ratings. I didn't expect that to confuse people, but I'll go ahead and update that for season 6.
I'll be 6.
Anyway, my ratings go from 1 to 5. When I think an episode is poor, I'm gonna rate it as such. If I think the episode's the bee's knees, I'm gonna rate it as such. My curve looks like this. IMDb, on the other hand, well, Office fans love them some Office, which I totally get. I love The Office. But as a byproduct, almost every episode is averaged as a high 7, 8, or 9, with a couple of outliers, meaning that their curve looks like this. In reality, my 4 out of 5 is not the same thing as their 8 out of 10. I would say their actual 8 out of 10 is probably closer to my 2.5, whatever, somewhere in that rating. Their 8 out of 10 is actually pretty low as far as Office episodes go. That was my point in that episode. So next up on the math train was this statement in New Boss. Don't even get me started on this math.
9,986,000 minutes. We actually sat down and did the math.
Working out the math myself, Michael would have been here during these days.
I started this company in 1949.
Lots of people had a lot of things to say about that. Look, if you break down every minute that Michael Scott existed, it's like 19 years.
After 19 years.
But the literal reading of the lyrics there implies minutes worked at the office. It's one thing to say I've worked somewhere for 19 years. The connotation with that means that people would assume that you're taking some liberties there. For example, I've ran this channel for 2 years now. You wouldn't assume that's the only thing I've done for 2 years. But if I said I spent 1,051,200 minutes, that's how many minutes I've been working on this channel, in coffee, in editing, in doing dumb things, well, it would have a different meaning. And I don't really care. It's not like I love that moment any less. It was just an offhanded statement to try to segue from one thing to another.
I'm just trying to bridge the gap between what just happened and the fact that I'm going to be doing the rest of the presentation.
Anyway, I think some people had some problem with this math too. We're saying that Charles nailed this ball at over 200 miles an hour. but I don't know. I'm pretty sure I got that right too.
So that means 4 times x2. What is double 4?
8.
Right. Excellent.
Just a couple more things I want to explore before we wrap this up, and then I'm going to talk about some stuff for season 6. So what I want to do here is open this up in the comments, and I'm going to do my best to be present when I release this video and over the next couple days to chum it up with y'all in the comments. So join the conversation here, and if you're watching this in a couple weeks, feel free to join the Discord and join the conversation there. So first up, I want to talk about the stress relief effect. The before and after of this episode, and really this season as a whole, do more than just change some of the variables of The Office. And this is really subjective, but the show goes from the mundane cringe to slapstick lowbrow humor. So what are your thoughts on this? Are you a fan of The Office all the way through, or do you prefer one or the other? Another thing I want to hear from you in the comments on is this cold opening.
I'm serious about this stuff.
Really, it's in the same vein as the stress relief effect, but I'm interested in hearing people's thoughts on this some more. When I covered this in the Casual Friday episode, I guess I hadn't really thought that people would have a real distaste for this cold opening.
Oh, Phyllis.
As their empathetic response to Kevin's pain almost seems too much to bear for them.
Mom will bear.
Are you trying to hurt my feelings? Because if so, you are succeeding.
I don't know, I kind of love it, but where are you at with it? And lastly, what do you think about this season of The Office as a whole? Every single season I've covered, probably except season 1, I thought, this might be my favorite season of The Office. And season 5 is no exception. Even the bad episodes in this one are good. They're chocked full of hidden goodies and great lines.
And then you put it on a wheel and spin it, and then you make it into the cup and you glaze it, put it in the kiln. And yeah, I bought that in the gift shop though.
So yeah, please let me know what you think of this season overall. I'm already underway planning out what I'm going to do for season 6, and I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be taking a small break from Field Guide uploads.
Most days I just sit and wait for the break.
But don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I'm actually going to be doing a ton of work on the channel over the next month. I'll have a steady stream of content that's going to be releasing. So next week, expect to see a lesser known Office Theories video. I had a ton of fun working on it, and it should be coming out next Thursday. The week after that, I'm announcing here for the first time, I'm going to do an Office Trivia live stream, and there might be a special guest for that one. So be on the lookout for that. We'll have door prizes and some grand prize winners. I'm also slowly rolling out updates on my season 1 content. As for season 6, there's a ton to talk about. I've got some huge plans, including travel and some interviews, like I said. And of course, we'll always have fun with the editing.
Oh man, this bit will never work.
And I couldn't do this without
viewers like you.
So if you want to see these field guides get bigger and better, consider supporting the channel on Patreon. You'll get some perks for doing so, but supporting the channel will help us do some cool stuff with the next 100 episodes of The Office. So with that, let's say goodbye to season 5, and I'll see you next time for season 6.
That is all, sir. You may go.